Well, thank you so much, Leanne. And from Minister Parkstown, we move now to Cape Town. And this is where we catch up with the Speaker of the Parliament. And EFF leader Julius Malema has intensified his criticism of the National Assembly Speaker, Thoko Didiza. Now, Malema is accusing Didiza of blocking accountability by refusing to authorise subpoenas for businessman Brown Mogotsi and forensic investigator Paul O'Sullivan. Mogotsi and O'Sullivan were called to appear before a Parliament's Ad Hoc Committee investigating corruption and political interference in the criminal justice system. And the two have refused to present themselves to Parliament, citing safety concerns. O'Sullivan is currently in the United Kingdom, and he has said that he'd received credible death threats and therefore requested to testify virtually, while Mogotsi asked Parliament to provide private security before he appears, citing an earlier attempt on his life. But for more on this, we're joined now by the National Assembly Speaker, Thoko Didiza. Ms. Didiza, thanks so much for your time. Welcome to Morning Live.
Thank you very much, Sakina, and your listeners. Good morning.
Speaker, the EFF leader, Julius Malema, is accusing you of blocking accountability by refusing to authorise the subpoenas for Brown Mogotsi and Paul O'Sullivan. And in as much as I want your reaction, also if we can speak to the concerns that refusing to authorise these subpoenas could actually weaken Parliament's authority.
Thank you very much, Sakina, and to the listeners. The committee chairperson, on behalf of the committee, approached me on the request that I support the authorization for the subpoena of the two witnesses. And as you would know, the subpoena would act as the last resort when the witnesses have refused. In this instance, the two witnesses did not refuse to appear to Parliament. They applied to the committee to be allowed to testify virtually, particularly Mr. Paul O'Sullivan. He stated two reasons. One of the reasons was the security concerns. The second issue was that he is abroad, and therefore on the date at which the committee wants him, he will not be able to come physically, and offered to actually have that interview with the committee virtually. The committee responded and did not state fully the reasons of not agreeing. However, they still insisted that Mr. Sullivan come. He responded to the committee as well to say while he appreciates the committee's response, but the committee has not responded specifically on the issues that he has raised. He even offered that he is still available to do that interview virtually. So I advised the committee that in response to what the witness has indicated, they need to actually apply their minds and respond to the reasons he has stated. It's only then when it is clear that there is a categoric refusal on the part of the witness that they can move to the next step. With regard to the witness Mogotsi, he stated his reasons for not being able to come unless his security concerns are actually addressed. So, as a speaker, I had to apply my mind, reflect whether or not the committee has exhausted all the options and provided assurance to the witnesses that their concerns has been addressed. It's only then that the speaker can support the committee's move to the next step. So there hasn't been any blocking of the appearance of any of these two witnesses. And I wrote formally to the chairperson for the committee and advised what are those issues that I thought the committee needed to address before we move to the next stage.
Ms. Didiza, you say that the committee didn't fully explain why these witnesses should appear in person. Did I understand you correctly there?
The committee did not respond to the witnesses on the concerns that they had raised.
So to that point, the security claims by Brown Mogotsi and Paul O'Sullivan, were those formally assessed in your consideration in that response to the committee?
The issue is in the committee's response to the two witnesses. In their response to them, they had not articulated how they would actually address those security concerns that have been raised in order to give assurance to them that as a committee, they've looked at the concerns raised and they have decided how they will address those concerns.
So I'm a bit confused, and I'll tell you why. Just in terms of the
Explain.
subpoenas. So it seems as though, from what Mr. Malema, at least from the EFF perspective, was saying, is that the Speaker of the National Assembly refused to accede to the subpoenas for Paul O'Sullivan and Brown Mogotsi. So now you are saying they, as a committee, needed to satisfy at least the concerns that were raised in terms of security by these two people and tell you exactly how they were going to safeguard these two witnesses. So I'm just a bit confused there in terms of when does them satisfying the security needs come about? Shouldn't it be after the subpoenas are agreed to? I'm just a bit lost.
No. You know, Sakina, you do not issue a subpoena on an individual who have not refused to appear before you. So here in this instance, the communication between the committee and the witnesses, at no stage did the two witnesses said, we are not willing to come before you. They
But they're not
said we
willing
are
to
willing.
appear in person.
Sakina, the committee, in its own terms of reference, have acceded that they will be able to even take witnesses through virtual. And that's why the witnesses would apply and state the reasons why they cannot be available, physically. In this instance, the two witnesses had stated their concerns, as you say, one of them being security, the other one being out of the country as well. However, they applied to the committee and stated those reasons. In response of the committee, in my view as a speaker, they ought to have indicated specifically to those members who have applied, why are they refusing these two or one grounds that an applicant has made? And why, in the view of the committee, despite those concerns, they still feel a member must come?
So with what you've just stated then, Ms. Didiza, does that mean that if the committee, and I'm not sure that they have the luxury of time to do that, but if they actually are able to show through those reasons communicated to you why these people should appear in person, does it mean that you would still be willing to weigh the option of the subpoenas?
Sakina and the viewership, the speaker has not refused to issue or to support the committee to issue the summons, have advised the committee on what they need to do before they are able to issue the summons. And the letter was communicated to the chairperson for the committee to consider, and therefore advised the speaker that having received your letter, this is what, in our view, have done in order to reach this point.
So,
And I'm sure you might have heard the various interviews that has also been done by other members of different parties in that committee, who admit that, yes, we did not do everything in order to be able to reach the stage of a subpoena. So it's not just the view of the speaker. The committee members themselves from other parties, they appreciate what was the missing step that they ought to have addressed before asking for a subpoena.
And there's also the allegation that was leveled yesterday that you are offering by not agreeing, acceding to those subpoenas, basically engaging in political shielding for people like Brown Mogotsi and O'Sullivan.
That's an allegation, as you say, but an allegation needs to be substantiated. The speaker cannot stand, against any accountability or oversight that the committee is engaged in or any other committee. But the speaker has also the responsibility to advise. And this is what I've done in my letter to the committee.
So just more broadly speaking, the sort of precedent that this may set for witnesses who will be expected to appear before Parliament in whatever committee or portfolio, in terms of them citing security risks as reasons for why they may not be able to appear before Parliament, are you concerned about the sort of precedent that this may set?
Well, Sakina, every matter that appears to a committee is dealt with its own reasons and its own merit. And wherever a decision is made in respect of what option does the committee have, that is dealt with in accordance to the circumstance in which that committee is faced with. So I don't see that there is any precedent in this regard because there has been no refusal of issuing a subpoena. And I think that's a misinterpretation of the letter of the Speaker to the committee through their chairperson.
And just in terms of the security concerns, once again raised by Brown Mogotsi, Parliament security and state intelligence, are they sufficiently capacitated to deal with any sort of security risks that people may state?
Well, in terms of security of individuals, Parliament, working with other state agencies, will do whatever is necessary to support those individuals. But it's not for the Speaker to articulate those details, as you know, is the security concern for the individual, and it is a security matter. But at no stage, Parliament has not been concerned about the safety of the witnesses or even the safety of members.
Well, Mr. Didiza, we'll leave it there. Thank you so much for your time this morning. Thoko Didiza is the National Assembly Speaker, reacting to accusations that she's blocking accountability by refusing to authorize subpoenas for businessman Brown Mogotsi and forensic investigator O'Sullivan. Mogotsi and O'Sullivan, who were called to appear before the Ad Hoc Committee, have cited reasons why they may not be able to do so in person.